On Lazy Sundays this week, we're going to be watching the 2018 Japanese movie, Anoko no Toriko, also known as That Girl's Captive of Love, which is based on a manga about 3 childhood friends who want to become celebrities. Yoshizawa plays our shy male lead, Suzuki Yori. Araki Yuko plays That Girl, Tachibana Shizuku, while Sugino Yosuke plays the heartthrob actor, Tojo Subaru. Our story starts with Yori's path, going back and forth between a current timeline, dreamlike sequence, and him as a child, running in slow-mo to catch a girl from falling from a tall height off a structure/playground. He narrates, "I've been captivated by her ever since then." Then pans to him clumsily waking up from a nap on a noisy bus, where he intends to get off at the next stop, Horikiri Academy. Unfortunately, being soft-spoken and awkward, he gets shoved around, and people won't move out of the way for him, so he never makes it off the bus. The bus drives off with him looking at his missed stop from the back window of the bus, where, funnily enough, a picture-perfect poster of Shizuku and Subaru greets us from below. When he finally makes it to the academy, he wanders around the courtyard of the school, where a few students fangirl over how pretty Tachibana Shizuku is, which cues us over to another dreamy montage of the model running in his direction. He catches her eye for a moment, and once she makes her way over to him, a single glance confirms that he's Yori, her childhood friend. Excited, she bombards him with questions on what her precious friend is doing here, and fills him in about her new status as a model while exchanging contact info. In a flashback to 9 years ago, his 2 childhood friends aced their auditions while he was too shy to pass his. But later on at the playground, Yori and Shizuku make a promise to act in the same film together in the future. Subaru then pops out of nowhere, and after launching a water balloon at the unsuspecting Yori, he challenges Shizuku to the jungle gym, to which she agrees. This brings us back to the memory from the beginning, where Yori runs towards the young Shizuku and catches her before she gets hurt. Now our third lead appears, while Shizuku is lunching with her friends at a restaurant. The popular Subaru was exiting his celebrity van with a bunch of fangirls surrounding him. While her own friends adore his presence, she looks towards his direction with a fond smile. Back at school, Yori gets a call from an entertainment agency, requesting him to become Shizuku's assistant. They convince him to take the position, saying he can slowly work his way up to become an actor. He says he doesn't really care for it, but changes his mind when the manager says Shizuku especially requested her next assistant to be Yori. Being the shy, awkward guy he is, upon leaving, he ends up bumping into a cutout of Shizuku, and his glasses fall on the ground. A mysterious older man helps him pick it up, and lingers his gaze on Yori's eyes before returning his glasses and papers. The manager calls him director, and through this encounter, it seems like he sees something in Yori, as he asks the manager, "Who is he?" Yori then makes his way over to a noisy hallway of an entertainment complex, where he tries to locate Shizuku. Looks like his first assignment as her assistant starts today. She taps him on the shoulder and surprises him with kissy lips and closed eyes, which completely flusters him. But she's only asking him about how her nude lipstick shade looks. She's about to go on a karate show and is feeling extra nervous since she sees it as her stepping stone to becoming an actress. Convinced the red shade would make a better impression, she rushes Yori out to buy her one. At the shop, he's putting a bunch of red lip shades to his complexion, convinced to find her the best one. During this time, he thinks back to an year ago, where he saw Shizuku and Subaru in a magazine. He decides that instead of living a normal life, he would strive to be a man that she would admire. When prepping her for her schedule this week, she was excited to find that she would be in a commercial for lingerie. Yori wasn't sure how she would react, but she cheerfully says that lingerie is just the same thing as a swimsuit. She sees that Subaru is going to be her co-model for the shoot and looks upon his picture fondly, while Yori seems a bit disappointed. The day of the commercial shoot arrives. However, it looks like Shizuku is running extremely late. Yori goes to check on her and sees her crouched low, attempting to convince herself that lingerie is the same as a swimsuit and that Subaru would be there next to her. Yori leaves the room without disturbing her and spots a mascot costume down the hall. Back at the studio, Subaru's manager says they have to get moving for his next schedule. Subaru wonders aloud if it's because she isn't comfortable wearing lingerie, but his manager says that if she wants to be a pro, she's got to deal with it. In the changing room, Yori appears in front of Shizuku with the panda mascot head in an attempt to cheer her up. This works on her, calming her nerves, and she's off to the studio. However, when she arrives at the studio, Subaru has left for the day. The organizer is pissed, since now they have to reschedule the shoot. She apologizes, but they tell her that she's fired. Shizuku is about to leave, but Yori takes a deep breath before speaking out. This is a contract violation. This is an unfair dismissal. Shizuku tries to stop Yori since she doesn't want to offend Subaru's agency that holds a lot of power. However, the director of this shoot happens to be the same one that bumped into Yori that day, and asked the organizer if Yori could replace Subaru as a model. Everyone thinks this idea is absurd, since Yori is just an assistant after all. But the director, Kondo-san, says it's worth a try, since all the staff and equipment are already set up. Kondo walks over to Yori and tells him straight to his face, "Your ambition is to be an actor, right?" The shy Yori decides that if it's for Shizuku's sake, he can do it. Yori goes to change, and when he comes back into the room, everyone's eyes are on him. Although the only thing different about him is his white button-up, his newfound determination seems to emit an alluring aura. Taking a seat next to Shizuku, he takes off his glasses, revealing his beautiful eyes. Even Shizuku seems in awe of this new side of Yori. When filming the ad, Yori and Shizuku are fully immersed into their roles. Although initially, Shizuku was supposed to be the main focus, Kondo-san requests the cameraman to focus on them both, after confirming Yori's natural charisma. Time passes, and the ad debuts on the side of a huge building. Yori smiles up at the ad when a few girls next to him fangirl about the boy in the photo. Hey, who is that boy? A few girls turn into an entire crowd, and Yori ducks away, shy with their overflowing compliments for model Yori. Subaru sees them making headlines on social media and doesn't seem pleased with their taste of the spotlight. The scene pans over to Yori and Shizuku on a bench. "Don't forget about me." "I won't." "You're always going to be inside my heart." "Really?" "I've liked you since the first time we met, probably." Shizuku groans that Yori isn't into it, and we find out that he's just helping her out with her script reading. They try again, and Yori gives it his best shot, which probably isn't very hard, since this is how he feels about her. This time, Shizuku has tears in her eyes, and she calls out his name softly. But she ends their moment by giggling, telling him that he's actually pretty good at this. Down the hall, Subaru shows up with a horde of fans trying to initiate conversation with him. He gives them short answers, before walking over to Shizuku, who shyly apologizes for causing trouble with the shoot the other day. He congratulates her for getting auditions for dramas, before leaning in to stare into her eyes. "Shizuku, you've gotten more beautiful these days." He pats her head and says he'll see her around. Oh, keep in mind that Yori was a few steps behind them, listening to their whole conversation, yet not being acknowledged by Subaru even once. Yori gets news that Shizuku didn't end up passing the audition they were practicing the other day. Though disappointed, she tells him to go out with her after. They end up going on a date, eating street food, getting their fortunes at the shrine, and of course, the aquarium. At the aquarium, there were a lot of people crowding around, and so to get her a better view, Yori lifts Shizuku up without thinking. She tells him to put her down. She's not a kid after all, though there is an awkward tension in the air. She runs to the gift shop, and they end up each buying a keychain of the panda mascot he wore that day, to cheer her up, before taking a picture together. Strange anger, my anger. If I go with you, I will drown. How do I know if I can trust? They're enjoying a live show when the dolphins end up jumping high up, and water goes splashing towards the audience. Without thinking, Yori gets up and pulls Shizuku into a hug, causing him to get soaked. She laughs and tells him to take his shirt off before he catches a cold. He's too shy to, but when he's finally topless, it's her turn to feel shy, and she dries him up while hiding behind his shirt. Good news arrives when Shizuku successfully gets the main role in a stage play of Romeo and Juliet. However, to Yori's dismay, her co-star is none other than Subaru, and worse, Shizuku looked excited to work with him. But Subaru gets into a car accident that would take him 1 month to fully recover. Not only will he not be able to make it to rehearsals, they're not sure he'll make the performance. Yori thinks back to the times with Shizuku working her way up to finally get an acting role. Not wanting her to lose this chance, he is determined to grant her dream and declares, "Please, let me do it!" The director, who's seen his potential since the beginning, decides to give him a shot. They begin rehearsals, and the staff sees Kondo's choice was right, as they whisper, "Isn't he better than Subaru-san?" During the scene where Yori says, "Juliet, I love you," he pulls Shizuku in for a long hug. This seems to catch her by surprise, as the director hilariously tells him that he's hugging her for too long. "You can let her go now, man." "Ah, Romeo, Romeo, where art thou, Romeo?" Shizuku exclaims from the top of her balcony, as Yori smiles at her from below at the dress rehearsal. Before Yori could say his lines though, Subaru enters the theater. His sudden entrance surprises Shizuku, and she loses her balance and falls off the set. Without wasting a second, Yori runs towards her just like he did many years ago, successfully catching her in his arms. Unlike last time though, he provides her with a smooth landing as they stare into each other's eyes. Everyone rushes to the stage and checks to make sure they're okay. When everything is settled, Subaru apologizes for the trouble, but the play is going to be okay, since he's here now. He coldly thanks Yori for filling in temporarily. Now that Subaru's back, he's gonna play Romeo, and though Kondo-san is sorry to Yori, there's nothing he can do about it. Disappointed, he walks off the stage with a limp. He has hurt his ankle from the fall earlier. The rehearsal with Subaru starts, and things go smoothly until they reach the kiss scene. Yori watches in agony, but Shizuku pauses for a moment before running off stage. She is clearly worried about the kiss, but we don't know if it's because she's nervous or if it's because Yori is no longer Romeo. From the rooftop, she calls Yori worriedly. Turns out, he's fractured his ankle. He tells her not to worry about him and to focus on practicing. However, she gets angry, telling him to stop talking to her like they're strangers. To her, it seems like he's always putting a boundary between them. She wants to see him, but he tells her to focus. Her dream to become an actress will become real if she does a good job with this play. She wants him to see her first stage play, and he closes his eyes, telling her that he can envision her from anywhere. Her debut date is finally here, and Yori arrives, watching her from backstage. Once the play starts, though, he closes his eyes, and suddenly, he's acting as Romeo in the play with her. His fantasy ends when he imagines their kiss together, and when he's back to reality, the play has also ended. His plans to enter the stage and surprise her come to a stop when Subaru confesses to Shizuku. "Ever since we were young, I've always loved you." They're interrupted when Yori leaves the stage, though Shizuku doesn't seem to realize that he was there. Subaru, though, catches up to him, and informs him that he is definitely not going to lose to him. The defeated Yori sits in a field of grass, but happens to receive a pleasant call from director Kondo. He may not have been Romeo, but the director has a job offer for him. It's been a few days now, and Shizuku impatiently waits for Yori to contact her. She casually brings Yori up to her manager and finds out he came to watch her opening day. However, he also tells her that he's got a huge gig. Kondo wants Yori to be his main protagonist of his new art film. And not only that, his co-star is a famous actress, Yamada Hana. Back at school, Yori and Shizuku meet again. She congratulates him for his big acting debut, but tells her about her new movie role with Subaru. They're doing a manga adaptation, where Subaru plays the heartthrob. Shocker. She also mentions that she heard he came on opening day, and asks him what he thought about it. Though he praises her for being a good actress, he says, "It wasn't wonderful. You guys being together wasn't that wonderful." He says he couldn't wholeheartedly congratulate her. Before she could say anything, though, he excuses himself. They leave from opposite directions, and although they both turn around to see if the other might take a second glance, the timing is off. The script reading for his movie arrives, and Yamada Hana introduces herself, just like a top actress would. Polite with a few words, keeping up her mysterious aura. Yori, though, makes an effort, promising to do his best not to bring anyone down. His enthusiasm catches her eye. And so, filming commences for both films. Both pairs do a good job, Yori and Hana with their artistic vibe, and Subaru and Shizuku with their teen romance. Since both of the movies are being filmed at the same studio, Yori and Shizuku end up crossing paths often. Although it's obvious that they have feelings for one another, they make an effort to avoid each other. One day, after Shizuku's day ends, she bumps into Kondo, looking through footage of his movie. She takes a look, and of course it happens to be a love scene. She looks away and is taken by surprise when Hana appears behind her. She's caught Yori looking at Shizuku a few times, and probably realizes his feelings for her by now. Wanting to get a reaction out of Shizuku, she says, "I'm falling in love with my co-star," calling him a good man. Shizuku quickly makes an exit from the awkward encounter, saying she's a bit embarrassed to be watching her friend's love scene. But before she leaves, she sees Subaru and Yori walking together and follows them. They've arrived at a set to discuss the Shizuku situation. Subaru somewhat aggressively tells Yori to back off, because if he ends up dating Shizuku, he'll just bring her down. For someone like her to date her unknown assistant would be super ridiculous. He tells him to just give up, because there's no way he'll beat him. But Yori says he's got a chance, if he becomes a top newcomer actor in Japan. Subaru only scoffs. "Are you thinking of beating me with that low-budget indie film?" Subaru makes him a deal. If Yori wins, he can confess to Shizuku. But if he wins, Shizuku's his. Meanwhile, Shizuku hears all of this from outside. The day of the award ceremony arrives, and our three leads are seated next to each other. They nervously wait for the presenter to announce the winner, which turns out to be Subaru. The presenters ask him about his ideal type of girl, and he says, "A strong woman who moves towards her dreams with all her strength." Before getting off the stage and walking right towards Shizuku. She doesn't look pleased with the fact that he's dragging her towards the stage, but complies. He declares in front of everyone, "This is the person that I like." Once the ceremony ends though, Shizuku rushes to find Yori, but he's already left. The next day, Shizuku is dressed as a bride for a movie scene. Her thoughts wander as she admires their matching keychain when her manager appears, telling her that Yori is leaving for America today. He's auditioning for Hollywood. Before he leaves, he stops to look at a billboard of Shizuku. "Goodbye, Shizuku. I'm not going to be a prisoner of your love anymore." At the same time, his keychain falls off his backpack, prompting memories of them together to return. Back at the filming site, Shizuku and Subaru are getting married. He smiles widely, excited for the kiss, but she looks like she just wants to get it over with. He's about to lean in for the kiss when the director shouts, "Cut!" since she's too stiff. They take a break, and Subaru and her have a talk. She's about to turn him down when he brings up Yori leaving to America. He tries to convince her that her and Yori are but a fantasy, since he's going to America for a year, and currently, work is more important than love to him. "Be with me, Shizuku." She doesn't give her answer, since filming was about to begin again. But before it could recommence, Yori appears. He apologizes to Subaru, who gives him the go-ahead. Walking towards Shizuku, he confesses with the same lines they practiced together. "Shizuku, I've always liked you, since those days, since childhood." She tells him that she likes him too, and asks why he didn't tell her sooner. Ever since he caught her at the jungle gym, she's wanted to be an actress that he would admire. She was able to go after her dreams because he believed in her. Yori then exclaims, "Please marry me!" Though she looks touched, she tells him to go to America so he can come back a huge star that she could admire. "I want to tell everyone, the Yori that I love is someone amazing." In the meantime, she'll do her best to become an amazing actress. Then they can get married. He leaves with determination, but not before she calls out his name, giving him a romantic goodbye. The movie ends with Yori about to enter his American edition. In voiceover, he says, "Shizuku, I will always be a prisoner to your love, for eternity." He closes his eyes in preparation for his big edition, and when he opens them again, we take in his charismatic look of determination once again. So, this week's movie was definitely a shoujo manga come to life, except for this time, instead our main character is a boy instead of a girl. Throughout the movie, our shy boy breaks out of his timid shell, becomes an actor, stars in a nominated film with a big actress, gets the girl of his dreams, and aims to break into Hollywood within a year or two. Extremely far-fetched, but following the lives of celebrity dream chasers can be entertaining, so we stuck along for the ride. Our three main characters are pretty popular, each having done previous main roles, with Yoshizawa actually being one of the hottest rising actors of his current generation. Unfortunately, this wasn't any of their best work. Rather than the actors, though, I think the script is more to blame. I didn't really feel the connection between any of the leads, and half the time I was confused. Was Shizuku really into Yori since the beginning? I guess her shyness around Subaru before was due to the fact that he was a big celebrity, or that's what they want us to think anyways. With Subaru, it was obvious he just suddenly developed this huge urge to possess Shizuku, cause suddenly Yori was back in the picture. Like, hello, he had all those years to chase after her, but they didn't even look like they really talked until Yori showed up. Not to mention, he was a terrible person in general. Forget about the fact that he doesn't want to acknowledge his childhood friend just because he's worthless to him, but he had the nerve to tell him that Yori, as a mere assistant, shouldn't date Shizuku. Boy isn't even paying attention to the story at all, cause, yeah, Yori was a lead actor already at that point. And that pat he gave Yori at the end means nothing when he was trying to sabotage their relationship seconds earlier. I didn't finish the manga, but I do remember that supposedly the four of them, including Hana, was casted in a movie together. The pairings being Subaru Shizuku and Yori Hana. And Hana was definitely more in the way of Shizuku and Yori getting together. I'm not sure why they changed it because I don't see the purpose of her role. Not to mention this kind of makes the movie less dramatic and engaging. Although I do have to say, some scenes were very pretty to look at, such as the beginning slow-mo when Yori and Shizuku meet again for the first time. The first time confident Yori appears at the lingerie shoot, and obviously, the dramatic Romeo saving Juliet part was truly cute. Even the wedding scene, despite its super cheesy script, was beautiful aesthetically. But the lack of an interesting script and overly cliche plot, such as Yori being a prisoner of Shizuku's love for eternity, her being the only reason behind him wanting to be an actor, and of course, Yori asking Shizuku to suddenly marry him made the movie so-so for me. Instead of being romantic, it just felt kind of childish. If you're a fan of any of these actors, I would recommend you choose another film to watch. Cause I do enjoy watching all three of them, but this was a mess. But if you're in it for the pretty scenery, a few glimpses into celebrity gigs, or just want something to pass the time, then give it a try. Other than that, the best part of this film was zoom-ups of Yoshizawa's pretty eyes. Thanks for hanging out with Lazy Sundays for another week. Remember to like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and comment to let me know whether you felt the same about Anoko no Toriko.